It's a new day in the history of the state of New York, and I'm very proud and honored to have been asked to join Governor Cuomo and be part of his team. And one thing I've said repeatedly, I have stepped away from a job, a city, and people that I truly love, and I did that for one reason. I believe in Governor Cuomo. I believe in what he will do for the state. I believe today is a new day in terms of what we will see in the future, as I just said on the radio. He has courage, he has vision, and one thing I believe in my heart, that we are going to see the transformation take place because of that leadership, and to be a part of it, to play even the smallest role, is something that I find incredibly invigorating.
Do you know what your role is going to be?
I do. I think the role, first of all, I will get up every day, and my job is to get up each day and do everything I can to support Governor Cuomo and his team and do what we can to improve the state. I will have priorities in terms of economic development, specifically upstate economic development, issues like consolidation, and the most important thing is I know my role. My role is to serve the governor and serve the governor, help him implement his vision. I'm very clear on my role. I would not have accepted this job if I were not clear. And so what the governor needs, what he needs me to do to represent him or help him, I will do. But the areas of economic development, that one in particular is a passion for me, because what we have is an upstate, a region of our state, which has been hit very hard for decades. We have New York City, which I think is one of the economic capitals of our world, and I believe there's a way to merge the wealth and talent and resources of a New York City with the talent and resources of an upstate, and try and create maybe a little more of a parochial environment, but try to look at trying to merge those needs around the state. And it's about jobs. It's about creating a state where companies want to stay and where companies will want to come.
Lieutenant Governor, could you talk a little bit about, how your time as Rochester mayor helped you work on that, and also what was spoken a little bit about at the meeting that you guys had?
Well, I think my experience as Rochester's mayor, and even before that as a police chief, is I'm a local government person. I'm somebody who has spent most of his career on streets, in neighborhoods, in houses, in houses, in the neighborhoods with people that maybe make $25,000 or $26,000 per year, trying to raise a family, and they can't afford taxes and costs of government put on their backs as they're trying to raise those families. And I took that to heart as mayor, because we cut taxes, we try to reduce costs and reduce spending, and that's what Governor Cuomo is going to bring to New York State, a whole area of getting the fiscal house back in order. So I think that's first and foremost. Number two, I'll just share a quick story, which I shared this morning. I won't say who I talked to, but during my tenure as mayor, I lobbied down in this building one Sunday morning during the budget process. And I had some of my staff with me, and there was some issues of mandates and the budget, which I wanted to raise. And I was outside the office of a very high-ranking person in state government, and I went back to tell him that the mayor of Rochester was there, and I could hear him react with disgust that he couldn't believe he had to take the time, and I heard him say, "Well, tell him he has 3 minutes and 3 minutes only." I don't think he realized I heard that. When we came out to the door, I told him I didn't need 3 minutes, I needed 1 minute. I was pretty cogent and clear with what I said. But I walked away, and I think the one thing that I walked away with was, here's a man who was at the upper levels of government, who would not give a mayor who represents 210,000 people in the great city of Rochester 3 minutes. But if I were to step out of my car each morning as mayor and somebody who was homeless stopped me, I'd give them 10 times the time. And I think that is the difference that we have to do in terms of this capital. Every day, we should never forget those people in our neighborhoods, from Western New York, from Buffalo and Erie County, right to Long Island, and everywhere in between, North Country down to Southern Tier. People in the state depend on us. And this government has to work for people, and that's what Governor Cuomo is bringing. That's what he has talked about from day one. I am on his team because I believe in him. I believe that he believes in things that I believe in. We are aligned on that. And I think that's one of the greatest things that we all can bring to service every day.
Was that Elliot Spitzer?
I'm not going to say who. No, I didn't. It wasn't governor. It was not. It was. No, you guys are good. You will not.
Right now?
Actually, no. Larry has been very helpful. By process of elimination, I won't tell you who, but no, the person is not in the building. Has not been in the building, and I didn't know that person well, but I came away with a sense of sometimes there's a disconnect between people who have incredible positions of authority and influence in this building and Mr. and Mrs. Smith, who are home trying to make ends meet. And I think that is what I bring to the table, is a local government perspective and experience that hopefully will represent those people. And we have a governor who believes in those same things, who also wants to have a government that represents those people. And as you'll see in the coming days and weeks, We have a governor who is here for the people, and I think he's going to show by words and by actions what's going to happen over the next 4 years.
What's your message to New Yorkers today? You're going to be speaking at the inaugural ceremony.
My message to New Yorkers is, first of all, it's a new year, and it's also a new day in the history of the state. And I would ask every New Yorker, Democrats, Republicans, independents, from every corner of the state to get behind Governor Cuomo and support him and put down the differences. We have a state that I believe is the greatest state in the union. And what we can't afford to do is have people fighting each other. And I've said this in a recent media interview back home. The political atmosphere in our state, our country, and our communities is toxic. It is so partisan, so bitter. And all parties, and especially two major parties, share that responsibility. And in some cases, I've always felt if one party had suggested a cure for cancer, another party may block that because it wasn't their idea. And if we end up putting those differences aside, compete in elections, I mean, that's part of the American way, but focus every day and try to make the lives of New Yorkers better. This state is going to go back to where it once was. And as a mayor, I've traveled all over this country. I've been with other mayors. We have been the butt of jokes. We have been trivialized across this country, and we have a governor who is going to come in and, I believe, restore the honor and pride of New York State. And I just ask all New Yorkers to support this governor, get behind him, support him, put differences aside. And if we do that, like any team, this state is going to move ahead faster than anybody could ever even begin to realize.
What do you see as the future of Eastman Kodak?
Eastman Kodak, when I grew up, and I'm from the northwest part of Rochester, and Kodak, when I grew up, had 65,000 employees. Kodak today is about 7,500. Antonio Perez, the CEO, is a friend and somebody I have great faith in. Kodak has seen what the rest of the economy has seen. Things have changed dramatically. They are trying to reinvent themselves. They are certainly working very hard. It's not the same company it once was, but I do believe it is strong and coming back. And that's a great metaphor for this state, that the economic climate has changed, and we need to come back and come back strong. But one thing that we need to do is create a state, and this is where Governor Cuomo is superb, a state where businesses want to stay here, and a state where businesses want to come here, because with those businesses come jobs and come opportunities for young people. And I've said this throughout the campaign. The situation we have in New York State right now is the result of what I believe are self-inflicted wounds over a long period of time. Decisions born out of weakness, decisions that are born out of representing special interests, and not people that depend on us every day. I would not be here today if I did not believe in my heart that Andrew Cuomo believes in those same things and is going to change his state. And it's exciting to be part of it. Just play a small role to be part of this. And today is a new day, and without in any way trivializing any previous administrations. I have a great relationship with Governor Patterson. I've had a wonderful personal relationship with him. Governor Cuomo, and each person coming in is different, brings different skill sets to the table. I think New York State is on the verge of a change that I hope they will get behind and push and support. It is exciting. It's very exciting.
Getting back to that anecdote that you told before, do you feel, though, that the concerns of Western New York have been ignored and are still being ignored by some legislators?
I honestly believe that there are areas of the state that feel forgotten. I know Rochester I felt was a forgotten city in my 5 years as mayor. The North Country feels the same way. The Southern Tier feels the same way, out in Buffalo and Chautauqua County. But one of the things that we have to do is make sure those concerns are at the forefront. And what Governor Cuomo has done is he picked a running mate from upstate New York. And I think Governor Cuomo could have picked running mates that would provide him a whole lot more than I did. I mean, I don't think I added to his ticket like others could have added, but I do add one thing, a perspective about the state, about people, and about upstate New York, which I believe can be an asset to him and the administration. And Governor Cuomo will not and has never forgotten upstate New York. And what we have to do is merge those interests. And one thing we do is by aligning every agency, every employee, everybody has to understand that their mission is to do everything they can to change the state. And I'm not sure, I can't say that's always been the case. And sometimes we pull against each other. We have a leader, a strong leader, a leader with great experience. I haven't seen anybody in government in my time that's had the executive experience that Governor Cuomo has had going back to a very young age. So I'm excited. I think we're all pumped up. I'm wearing received the first official pin from the governor this morning, one that epitomizes where this state is going to go, and you'll hear more about that a little later today.
Lieutenant Governor,
Thanks,
are
everyone.
tax
We're
cuts
running late.
necessary to change the image of the state?
Right.
Are tax cuts necessary to change the image of the state?
Well, I would say what we need to do is make a state that's affordable, make a state that will draw businesses and keep people here. When people flee New York State because they can't afford to live here, that tells us something. And taxes are all about the size of government. And what we did, I have in Rochester, we have the lowest number of employees since President Truman was in office. We have to have the courage to say no. We have to reduce our workforces if need be, or make the necessary cuts, and have the courage to do that. That's a hard thing to do, and it can be done very, I won't say painlessly, but sometimes through attrition and planning and leadership. But we are facing a $10 billion budget, and Governor Cuomo is facing one of the most incredibly difficult circumstances that any governor ever stepping into office. But I would say this, the state could not have a better governor at the helm to meet that challenge.
But the taxes need to be cut.
Well, I would say, I would leave that to common sense, is if we could pay less, have a state that can pay, it costs us less to live here, that is an asset. The tax cap, that is the first step to try and reduce the increase of cost. If we do our job, and Governor Cuomo is all about consolidation and efficiency, if we reduce the size of government across the state, we're going to reduce the whole tax burden on people. And what I've learned, we look at consolidation, everybody wants lower taxes, everybody wants less government, just not in their own backyard. They're afraid to do it in their own towns, villages, cities, and counties, but they want it done elsewhere.
But you don't plan to cut
People have to realize it. Well, I'll defer to the governor's first announcement when he comes out this week, and I would say this, the first thing on Governor Cuomo's mind is, besides restoring the faith and trust, is getting the fiscal house in order. And I think the people of New York should have patience to do that. You cannot do everything on day one. It's a $10 billion gap. There are major problems, but we have a governor who is all about trying to reduce the cost of living in the state of New York. Thanks, folks.
At state layoffs to cut the budget?
I think at this point, it's too early to tell what will happen. I think the one thing we have to do is bridge a $10 billion gap. And what we'll do is rely on all the employees, agencies, and this state to help us with the ideas to get there. But a $10 billion budget gap is enormous. So it can't be bridged without pain, but if people pull together, we can bridge it. I think there's no impossibilities here, but just a daunting task ahead.
So, Governor,
Everybody,
does that mean
we're
that
late.
the
We have to
layoffs
keep moving.
aren't-
Thank you.
The layoffs aren't effective at this point? Is that something you're still considering, whether to go through with Patterson's layoffs?
At this point, I think Governor Patterson has made his decisions, and Governor Cuomo will be making other decisions in the future. I'm not saying not undoing things. He'll be making other very difficult decisions in the future. He has to. But what those decisions are yet to be defined. This is the first day. We start off with a staff meeting. We have a lot of work to do starting today, right through before the budget is submitted. And I think it would be a better sense once that